At exactly 3:17 a.m., one of the most experienced FBI behavioral experts in the country felt something she had not felt in 15 years: fear. Not because the suspect threatened her, not because he confessed, not because he lost control, but because in 6 straight hours he had not blinked once, and he was smiling. The interrogation room inside the FBI's Behavioral Analysis Unit in Quantico was designed to break people down. The temperature was kept just low enough to create discomfort. The lighting was sterile and unforgiving. The metal table reflected every micro-movement, every twitch, every bead of sweat. The camera in the corner recorded at high resolution to capture pupil dilation and facial tension shifts, measured in fractions of seconds. The room had dismantled trained operatives. It had unraveled serial offenders. It had reduced career criminals to trembling silence. But tonight the room felt different, because the man sitting across from Special Agent Mara Keene was not reacting to it. He sat upright, hands folded, back straight but relaxed, breathing slow and controlled. His expression was neutral, almost pleasant, and his eyes were open, completely open, unmoving, unblinking. Daniel Mercer, at least that was the name on his Virginia driver's license, had been arrested 48 hours earlier, during what should have been a routine traffic stop. A broken taillight, a polite exchange, registration valid, insurance current. But when the officer ran his plate, 3 alerts flashed simultaneously, 3 active missing person investigations, 3 different states, 3 burner phones inside his glove compartment, each linked to one of those cases. The trunk of his car was surgically clean, not just empty. Clean, no dust, no fibers, no DNA beyond his own. The inside of the vehicle had been wiped so meticulously that forensic technicians described it as unnaturally sterile. He had no criminal history, no social media presence, no financial anomalies, no behavioral flags. He was a statistical ghost. By hour 1 of the interrogation, Mercer answered every question calmly. Where were you on March 14th? At work. Can anyone confirm that? Yes. Do you know Emily Vance? No. His tone never sharpened, never hesitated, never drifted, and he didn't blink. At first, Mara assumed adrenaline suppression. Some individuals under acute stress experience temporary blink inhibition. It happens. Rare, but documented. By hour 2, she began timing it. Normal human blink rate, 15 to 20 times per minute. Under stress, 20 to 30. Under deception, often erratic spikes. Mercer's rate, 0. By hour 3, Victor Hale, senior profiler and a man who once interviewed a cult leader for 11 hours straight, without losing composure, shifted uncomfortably behind the one-way mirror. Is the footage glitched? He asked the tech. The technician zoomed in. High-definition clarity. Moisture remained stable. Tear film intact. No visible irritation. No redness. He simply wasn't blinking. Hour 4, Mara changed tactics. She leaned forward, lowered her voice, introduced silence, one of the most powerful interrogation tools available. Silence creates psychological pressure. Humans fill silence. They explain, they justify. Mercer did not. He matched her silence with stillness. The clock ticked. The fluorescent lights hummed. His gaze never wavered. Hour 5. She slid photographs across the table. Emily Vance, Rachel Monroe, Tanya Ruiz. 3 women, 3 disappearances, 3 states. No bodies recovered. Mercer glanced down at the photos, then back at Mara. Still no blink. I've never seen them before, he said calmly. His pupils did not dilate when he saw their faces. No micro-expression flicker, no lip compression, no autonomic spike. It was as if his nervous system had been muted. By hour 6, something shifted, not in him but in the room. The observers began feeling it. Interrogations are psychological chess matches. There is always a rhythm, a give and take, a pulse. This had none. It felt like speaking into a void that was watching back. Mara decided to push. You were in Richmond the night Rachel disappeared, she said. Yes. Your phone pinged within 2 miles of her apartment. I travel frequently. You contacted a number associated with her 2 days prior. I make many calls. Still no blink. His voice remained steady, his breathing unchanged. His pulse monitored discreetly via remote thermal imaging remained within resting range. Hour 7. Victor entered the room. He chose confrontation. "You're very controlled," Victor said. "That's interesting." Mercer smiled slightly. "Is it? You haven't blinked in over 6 hours." A pause. For the first time, something almost like curiosity flickered across Mercer's face. "That bothers you?" he asked. Victor leaned in. "It tells me you're suppressing something." Mercer tilted his head just slightly. "Or," he said calmly, "it tells you that you're looking for something that isn't there." Still no blink. By hour 8, fatigue began affecting the agents. Not him. Mara's eyes felt dry. She blinked more frequently. She became acutely aware of her own blinking. Every time she closed her eyes, even for a fraction of a second, it felt like surrender. He was still watching, uninterrupted. Hour 9. The forensic team sent an update. One of the burner phones had residual data fragments, partial deletions, enough to suggest that encrypted messaging apps had been used, but fully scrubbed. "Why 3 phones?" Mara asked. "I like backups," Mercer replied. "For what? In case something stops working." His answers were literal, clean, defensive without being defensive. Hour 10. Mara switched to empathy. "Daniel," she said softly, "if something happened accidentally, if someone got hurt, this is the time to explain." Nothing. No swallow reflex, no tension spike, no blink. "You think I hurt someone," he said evenly. "It's possible. Do I look like someone who loses control?" There it was. Not anger, not fear. Something colder. Control. Hour 11. Behind the glass. Victor reviewed the footage from the beginning, frame by frame. There it was, an anomaly. At hour 2, minute 13, Mercer's right hand had flexed subtly when Rachel Monroe's name was mentioned. Not a flinch. Not visible to the naked eye, but measurable. Victor re-entered the room. "Rachel Monroe," he said abruptly. Mercer's gaze remained locked. Victor repeated it. "Rachel Monroe." A full 5 seconds of silence. Then Mercer smiled again. "Your big repetition creates cracks," he said. "It won't." Still no blink. Hour 12. Mara felt it clearly now, the psychological inversion. Interrogations are designed to destabilize suspects, but Mercer was stabilizing himself and destabilizing them. Every second he didn't blink forced them to confront something unnatural. Humans blink to reset visual stimuli, to lubricate the eye, to relieve cognitive load, unless they are trained not to. Victor stepped closer. "Military?" he asked suddenly. "No." "Intelligence training?" "No." "Psychological conditioning?" Mercer paused. The longest pause of the night. 2 seconds. 3, 4. Then, "I read," he said. Still no blink. Hour 13. Mara's voice cracked slightly from dehydration. Mercer's did not. She tried one fining tactic. She stood, walked slowly behind him. Most individuals track movement instinctively. Peripheral reflex forces eye motion. Mercer's eyes remained forward, unmoving, fist on the wall, as if he could see something beyond it. And then at 3017 a.m., during hour 14, something finally happened. Not a blink, something worse. He spoke before she asked the next question. "You're running out of time," Mercer said softly. Mara froze. "We have all the time we need," she replied. He turned his head slowly toward her, the first full head movement in 14 hours, and for the first time his voice lost its neutral tone. It dropped, lower, colder. "You think this is about the 3 you know about," he said. Silence swallowed the room. Behind the glass, Victor stopped breathing. Mara felt her pulse surge. "What does that mean?" she asked carefully. Mercer leaned back slightly, still unblinking. "You're very good," he said calmly. "But you're late." A chill moved through the room. Late for what? Victor demanded. Mercer's eyes shifted just slightly toward the camera in the corner. Not a blink, a shift. You've been studying my eyes all night, he said. You should be studying the clock. And then, for the first time in 14 hours, he blinked. Once, slowly, deliberately, and smiled. The digital clock on the interrogation room wall read 3018 a.m. Across 3 different states, at that exact minute, 3 prepaid phones, previously dormant, powered on simultaneously and began to ring. The moment he blinked, everything changed. It wasn't a reflex. It wasn't dryness. It wasn't fatigue. It was intentional. Slow. Controlled. Deliberate. At 3018 a.m., 3 prepaid phones in 3 different states powered on at the exact same second. Virginia, Maryland, North Carolina. Devices that had been dark for weeks suddenly lit up and began placing outgoing calls to a single number each, local emergency dispatch. Inside the interrogation room, Daniel Mercer leaned back slightly in his chair, the faintest curve of satisfaction touching his lips. You should answer those, he said softly. Behind the glass, chaos erupted. Victor Hale barked orders. Tech analysts scrambled. Field offices were alerted. State police lines lit up. The coordination was immediate, but Mercer's timing had been surgical. This was not panic. This was choreography. Mara Keene stood still for half a second longer than she should have. In that half second, she understood something critical. The interrogation had never been about extracting a confession. It had been about occupying them. 14 hours. Every profiler, every analyst, every cognitive specialist focused on him, exactly where he wanted them. You planned this, she said quietly. Mercer's eyes remained steady again. Now he blinked normally, once every several seconds, almost casually. Yes, he replied. Planned what? The delay. Across state lines, patrol units were dispatched to the GPS coordinates pinging from the activated phones. The signals weren't moving. They were stationary, buried. In Virginia, officers traced one device to a wooded area outside an abandoned grain facility. In Maryland, another signal pulsed from beneath a decommissioned drainage site. In North Carolina, the third originated from a rural storage compound long out of operation. Each location had one thing in common: freshly disturbed ground. Mara felt her pulse hammering in her ears. How many? She asked him. Mercer tilted his head slightly. How many what? How many are there? A pause. Then he answered, calmly, almost kindly. That depends on how quickly they dig. At 3:42 a.m., Virginia officers uncovered a sealed plastic container 2 feet beneath the soil. Inside, a prepaid phone, still ringing, no body. In Maryland, the same result. In North Carolina, identical, 3 phones, 3 decoys. The dispatch centers had received automated messages when the calls connected. A pre-recorded voice, not Mercer's. A female voice. If you're hearing this, you're too late. Back in Quantico, the realization landed like a weight in the room. The activated phones weren't rescue signals. They were confirmation signals. A countdown marker. Mercer had needed them focused on him until exactly 3018 a.m. Mara stepped closer to the table. You don't control this anymore, she said. Mercer's gaze sharpened. I never needed to. Victor re-entered the room, his composure thinner now. What happened at 3018? He demanded. Mercer's lips pressed together briefly, the first micro-expression of pleasure. Something irreversible, he said. The room fell silent again, but the dynamic had shifted. For 14 hours they had tried to penetrate him. Now they were reacting to him. Where are they? Mara asked. Mercer studied her face, not predatory, not frantic. Analytical. You're looking at this wrong, he said. You assume proximity, meaning you think they're nearby. Victor's voice hardened. If anyone dies, they were already dead, Mercer interrupted. The words were flat. No drama, no emotional inflection, just fact. Mara watched for a deception cluster, throat swallow, lip compression, blink acceleration. Nothing. His physiology remained steady. You said we were late, she said carefully. Late for what? Mercer leaned forward for the first time in hours. For pattern recognition. Behind the glass, analysts were now cross-referencing missing persons cases not just in 3 states, but nationally. And then someone saw it. A pattern. Every disappearance connected to Mercer's travel history aligned with a very specific variable: astronomical events, lunar phases, eclipses, solstices. The 3 known victims had disappeared on nights tied to measurable celestial markers. And at 3:18 a.m. that morning, an astronomical transition had occurred, a precise lunar shift. Mara's stomach tightened. You're not random, she said. No, Mercer agreed. You're ritualistic. No. Then what? He held her gaze. I'm punctual. In the analytics room, a junior profiler ran a predictive overlay based on Mercer's travel, lunar cycles, and unsolved disappearances in the last 5 years. The number on the screen made him step back. 9, not 3. 9 potential matches. 9 women whose disappearances aligned perfectly with Mercer's location data and astronomical timing. Mara felt the air leave her lungs. 9, Victor whispered when the number reached him. Mercer observed the subtle shift in their posture, the tension, the realization, and he smiled again. You were only asking about 3, he said softly. You think this is a game? Victor snapped. No, Mercer replied. Games are unpredictable. This was precise. Why the blinking? Mara asked suddenly. He paused, genuinely paused. You noticed that more than the evidence, he said. It was unnatural. Exactly. A thin silence stretched between them. I needed you studying me, Mercer continued, counting, timing, questioning your own perception. You manipulated our focus, Mara said. Yes. Why? Because attention, he said calmly, is the most valuable currency in the world. Behind the scenes, task forces were already mobilizing to re-examine cold cases tied to Mercer's movements. Dig sites were being mapped. Geographic profiling models were being recalibrated in real time. But Mercer had one more layer. Where are the others? Mara pressed. He studied the table for the first time. And then he said something that shifted the entire case. You won't find them buried. Silence. Victor stepped forward. Then where? Mercer's eyes flicked briefly toward the ceiling. Think higher. Hours later, federal search teams would uncover storage unit leases under a shell identity tied to Mercer. Units paid in cash, climate-controlled, windowless. Inside the first unit they opened, there was no body. There were photographs, meticulous documentation, dates, times, lunar charts, personal effects cataloged like museum artifacts. He hadn't wanted to hide them. He had wanted to archive them. Back in the interrogation room, dawn began bleeding faint light through the reinforced window slit near the ceiling. 14 hours had passed, but the real interrogation was only beginning. Mara pulled her chair closer. You're not as detached as you pretend, she said. He watched her carefully. You documented them. You tracked astronomical events. You created timing rituals. That's not randomness. That's meaning. His jaw tightened, barely. You're searching for pathology, he said. I'm searching for motive. He held her gaze for a long moment. And then, quietly, you assume motive requires emotion, doesn't it? No, he said. It requires structure. The final psychological shift clicked into place. He wasn't killing from rage. He wasn't killing from impulse. He wasn't even killing for gratification. He was constructing something, a timeline, a pattern, a design only he fully understood. You see yourself as an architect, Mara said. He didn't respond. But he blinked. Once. And this time, it wasn't controlled. It was involuntary. A micro crack. You believe you're building something bigger than the victims, she continued carefully. Silence. Victor watched from the side, realizing what she was doing. Not attacking, not accusing, expanding the frame. You think this makes you significant, she said. A pulse flickered in Mercer's neck. There, for the first time, physiological response. "You think you've outmaneuvered us," she added. His breathing changed, subtly but measurably. "But you're here," she finished. Silence swallowed the room, and for the first time since the interrogation began, Daniel Mercer looked uncertain. It lasted less than a second, but it was real. "You're not the architect," Mara said quietly. "You're the end point." A muscle in his jaw tightened. "You're done," she said. Outside the room, arrest warrants expanded. Search teams fanned outward. Cold cases reopened. Families were notified. The distraction had ended. The pattern had been exposed. Mercer's eyes finally blinked again, and this time they blinked normally. The illusion of control, the unblinking stare, the calculated silence, the choreographed 3018 activation had fractured. 14 hours of psychological theater had bought him time, but not enough. As agents moved to escort him out, he turned slightly toward Mara. "You still don't understand the full design," he said quietly. She met his gaze without flinching. "We don't need to," she replied. "We just need to end it." The door opened. The hallway lights were brighter than the interrogation room. For the first time since his arrest, Daniel Mercer squinted and blinked repeatedly, because outside controlled darkness, the light was overwhelming.